Hello and welcome back to Inside Network Marketing. I'm Len Clements, and this is actually part 4 of this quadrilogy that I'm doing. 4 parts. I Googled it. Involving what is the distinction between and definition of a pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme, unregistered security, and now we're going to be using Zeek Rewards as a case study because that was one of those rare opportunities that was out there that actually got hit for being all 3 of those things. So I'm going to start by discussing the Ponzi issue first because it is actually my opinion that, and some others as well, that the SEC might have got this one wrong. I personally don't believe Zeek Rewards was a Ponzi scheme as opposed to a pyramid scheme. And remember back in part 1, a Ponzi scheme is one where on any one investment, the payout on it is greater than the investment. $100 comes in, $110 goes out. So you need another investor to come in to make up for that other $10 to pay off the first guy. So here's why I don't think they were a Ponzi scheme. The SEC made a case, and part of it, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but part of it was that, well, in the last month of their business, which I believe they counted July, they took in $162 million. They paid out $160 million. So they took in more than they paid out, but distributors were encouraged to reinvest about 80% excuse me, of their of what they earned, of what came out of the pool, their share of the pool. So if they earned $100, they were supposed to pull out $20 and take the other 80 and buy more bids with it. And by buying more bids, you essentially, and then either selling them or giving them away as a free offer to somebody to try to get more bidders. The sample bids, that's the word I was looking for. By doing that, you got points in the pool and you got more income from the pool. So you were just reinvesting those funds. So the SEC's idea was, well, what would happen if everybody would just dial that up just a tick? You know, let's say they were all going to say we're still going to start taking 30% out and reinvesting 7% or 70%. The 162 million coming in, they would have paid out more than 162 million. So they're about at that threshold where they're about to pay out more than they take in. If there's like a run on the bank, so to speak, what if all of a sudden everybody said, we're not going to reinvest anything. We're not going to buy any bids with the earnings from this pool. We're going to start taking it all out. Well, obviously, the 162 million would come in that month and they would pay out way more than 162 million, millions more potentially. So, you know, that there was the potential to be a Ponzi scheme. The reason why I don't believe it ever would have been a Ponzi scheme is because Paul Burks, who was the owner of the company and had control of the dashboard with all the dials on it, you know, at the home office, 2 of those dials controlled the payout. One of them was the percentage of the profit pool it paid out. It was running about 1.5% daily. I've heard it as high as 2%. I saw it as low as I think 0.8%, something like that. But it was running about 1.5% of up to 50% of the profits that were earned. So imagine now, let's say there was a run on Zeek. Everybody started to pull all of their funds out. We know now, and it was obvious even before the SEC action, that the vast majority of money being paid in by Zeek Rewards affiliates for these bids were never actually being used for bidding. They were just being given away as sample bids, and that's what they were doing with their income. They were reinvesting it and buying these bids to increase the size of their pool. So if all of a sudden everybody stopped doing that and started pulling all of their funds out, according to the SEC, by the way, that was 98.5% of all the bids that were purchased were for this purpose, not for actually bidding. Well, that's where 98.5% of the profits were coming from. So if all of a sudden everybody stopped reinvesting and stopped buying all these millions of dollars worth of bids with the funds they earned, it would be 1.5% of almost nothing. And a payout of 1.5% of nothing would be about nothing. Let's say more realistically, they did just, all the distributors went into their back office and said, let's just earn a little bit more back. I'm going to pull out a little bit more cash, reinvest a little less. Well, it wouldn't have went to 162 million in and 163 million out or anything like that, because Paul Burke would have said, okay, let's dial the 1.5% down to 1.4. It's up to, let's say they were assuming they were paying out 50% of profit. Let's dial that down to 40%. Now we're still paying less than we're paying out less than we're taking in. If more distributors decide to pull out more cash, we'll pay 1.2% of 30% of profits, or 0.8% of 20% of profits. And he had a lot of room there to bring everything down to make sure that he never paid out more than he took in. So there was some control there. It wasn't a fixed amount that was paid out that inevitably was going to cause it to be a Ponzi-ish type of opportunity. I don't think that was accurate. But anyway, it gives you kind of an idea of how it could have been, and again, how Ponzi schemes work. Now, as far as an unregistered security, this is one's a little bit more controversial. I personally believe it was operating even at the very end as an unregistered security. A lot of other attorneys and so forth and people of authority out there also believe that. But at least it's at least debatable. Remember the security issue definition of a security based on the SEC's what they call the Howey test: investment of consideration, usually money, into a common enterprise. A whole bunch of other people are putting money in, where the return is earned primarily from the efforts of others. Somebody else is doing all the work. You're just sitting back seeing how much money you make. Now, Zeke was claiming that it wasn't a security because the distributors, the affiliates, were putting in effort. They were, for example, putting out little free ads. They were helping to promote the Zeke Rewards opportunity in the Zeekler website. And by putting out these free little classified ads every place, that was effort. And then they added even more effort later. They said, well, you can't just buy the bids now to get points in the pool. You now have to give the bids away as sample bids to try to attract more affiliates and more customers. So there's more effort. Well, neither of these things would have been considered effort. And by the way, according to some people I spoke to actually in the North Carolina AG's office, it would not have been considered effort. Because, and it's like the analogy I used in part one, or actually part 3 when we were talking about securities. If I'm investing funds and my friends want to give me some of their money for me to invest for them, and I tell them, well, go paint my garage, there's your effort for me to do that. That's not effort in producing the income. That's their entry fee. That's their payment to get me to perform this service for them. Zeke Rewards distributors were putting in effort. Effort, by the way, can be consideration. Consideration is anything of value. So they were putting in effort as their entry fee. That was what they had to do to get the people at Zeke to do what they did to actually create the return. Now, yes, some Zeke Rewards distributors put in a lot of effort building their matrix and the MLM component of it, or getting other customers or affiliates to make more money in the profit pool, but they had the option to just buy more bids, let them compound, reinvest them, and sit back and make money based on other people's efforts. That absolutely was still occurring. So if it's even an option, it's wrong. And that absolutely was still occurring. They did a lot if they hired all of their attorneys and everything to take a lot of that nomenclature kind of out, words like investing and compound and so forth. But even at the very end, the Zeke Rewards corporate material, their policies and procedures and their websites and things like that, they still had those terms in there. Because that's how they did openly promote it in the beginning before the attorneys told them to stop doing it. So like I said in the Zeke Rewards report, which there's a link to just below here, the trying to take out all of that language was kind of like taking the fudge out of a Rose Bowl sized tub of fudge swirl ice cream. They just were never going to get it all, and they didn't. So that's why in this case they probably were an unregistered security. They were offering the ability for a lot of people to invest consideration, their effort or their funds to get the bids, and sit back and just, in their back office, set it to 80% reinvest, pull out 20% or whatever they wanted, and see how much money they made. And that, in fact, was happening. It wasn't just the way it was being promoted. They did a lot of things to correct the packaging. I get that. But the content was still the same as it ever was. Even in the beginning, when they guaranteed, I think it was 50% return within 30 days or whatever it is they said. Return on investment, they actually called it that. So again, they changed the wording and the packaging, but didn't really change the content, the core ability to make income based on other people's efforts. Now, finally, the pyramid scheme issue. Now, this is one that's a no-brainer. It's one where there's talk out there about suing the SEC or bringing Zeke Rewards back or whatever. The reason why that's never going to happen is because, remember, the SEC only has to be right in 1 out of 3 for this to be what I've referred to previously as a righteous kill. I believe they got it right on 2 out of 3. But even 1, the pyramid scheme issue, is a slam dunk. And here's why. Remember, a pyramid is one where the motive for buying the product is not because you really want the product. You wouldn't have bought it if there were no income opportunity. If you're buying it because you actually want it, and if there were no income opportunity, you still would have bought it based on the intrinsic value of that product, that's probably a legitimate opportunity. If you're buying the product because you have to participate in the income opportunity, and there is no other reason anyone would ever buy that product, then that's most likely a pyramid scheme. Now, again, we know that not only were over 98% of all the bids purchased by Zeek Rewards affiliates never used for bidding, it was openly declared in several different places. Like, for example, there's on YouTube, you can see a great interview that Troy Dooley did with Don Wright Oliveras, a corporate member of Zeek Rewards, back in March, I believe it was, of 2012, where she specifically says that these VIP bids purchased by Zeek Rewards affiliates can be converted to points in your pool, that's how you make money off them, by only selling them or giving them away as sample bids. Now, which do you think people are going to do? Try to sell them to someone or just give them away for free? Obviously, they're all being given away for free. And using them to bid with wasn't one of the 3 ways to convert them to points. They had to sell them or give them away. Well, why else would you buy the bids under those circumstances other than to participate in the income opportunity? Almost all of the bids were not being purchased by Zeek Rewards affiliates to bid with. They were being purchased as a prerequisite to gain points in the pool to make income. It was overwhelmingly, glaringly obvious, and it was irreparable, by the way. There was nothing about this that could have been fixed to make it legal. Well, there is. I mean, you could have required them to only make the bids commissionable, to only make them convert to points if someone actually used them to bid with on the Zeekler website. But as soon as you did that, the whole thing probably would have fallen apart and died a natural death of attrition, because no one actually wanted to bid with them. They wanted to just buy them and give them away and get points so they can make money in the pool. We know that because 98.5% of the bids purchased were never used to bid with. So that's not speculation. There is legal precedent on this too, by the way. Back in the Gold Unlimited, American Gold Eagle in the early 90s, Passport to Adventure, these are a few off the top of my head. These are situations where people they paid money in and got vouchers or certificates or something that they accrued to a certain point and then redeemed for a product. Like gold coins or Passport to Adventure, it was travel. You got these travel vouchers and you accumulated them and you got enough of them, you bought the travel. But in the meantime, they were still paying commissions on the vouchers and the certificates. At that point, it was just an exchange of cash. It was just paper going back and forth. And by the way, all 3 of those companies were deemed illegal pyramid schemes. So here, again, you have to show someone's actually bidding with these bids. They're buying them for the motive to bid with. That's the value of the product. They really want the product. That you buy juice from Zango or Monavi or whatever because you want the juice. If you buy bottles of juice to give away as a sample to gain more customers or distributors, or to retail, who else would do that but a distributor, a participant in the income opportunity? A customer buying the juice because they actually want the juice wouldn't buy it under the condition that they can only give it away or sell it. They can't open it up and consume it. If they did, it doesn't count. So that's what was happening in Zeek Rewards. They were buying the bids to give away or sell, most of them given away, so they can make money in income opportunity. Now, let's take that completely aside. Separate from that, Zeek also had what they called a premium subscription package, which you could buy a gold, silver, or diamond package, which cost $10, $50, or $99 per month. This was the Matrix compensation plan, the actual MLM part of their plan. It was a 2x5 matrix, I believe. But they paid commissions on this gold, silver, and diamond package. So the question is, what's the motive for paying this $10, $50, or $99 monthly fee? do these packages have value to someone who is not a participant in the income opportunity? Would someone buy them even if there were no income opportunity? Well, you can look at old archives out there and see that the contents of these packages, not a single component within them had value to someone who was not a distributor, not an affiliate for Zeek Rewards. Things like full service back office. Who else would want that but an affiliate? 2x5 matrix commissions. Again, who would want that but an affiliate? At the diamond level, you got I'm looking at a quote here, highest earnings potential. Again, who would want that but an affiliate? Diamond bonus pool we could participate in. Again, only an affiliate would buy it for that reason. Full store customization. Who else would have a store but an affiliate? Someone in the business opportunity. Free training. Always like this too, by the way. A lot of companies do this. For a fee, we'll give you free training. Yeah, so you got free training for $99 a month. But anyway, who else would want the training but an affiliate? There was literally nothing in these packages that had any intrinsic value to a non-participant. In fact, nothing was even listed that included bids. Nowhere does it say that bids were even included in these packages. Now, I've since heard that later on, that according to Troy Dooley in a webinar we recently did with Kevin Thompson, the attorney, he put together this webinar, and we kind of talked about everything that was going on with Zeek. And Troy said there were bids included near the end, and if he says that, I absolutely believe him. So I know he knows what he's talking about. So, but again, those bids were only to be given away, so they're a sales aid. They're given away to attract more customers. Who else would buy something to use as a sales aid to attract more customers but someone in the income opportunity? So it would be my opinion, my belief that of the millions of Zeek Rewards participants, not a single person, not one human being, purchased one of these premium monthly packages even one time at any point in their history for the intrinsic value of the package, who was not a participant in the income opportunity. It was overwhelmingly obvious you'd only buy those if you were a distributor. So that aspect alone made it a flaming pyramid scheme. That's a term my friend Kevin Grimes, the attorney, uses for a really obvious pyramid scheme. So that on top of the bonus pool and how the motive for buying the bids, two completely different ways that this was an overwhelmingly obvious pyramid scheme. And again, irreparable. How do you fix the premium bonus, that package thing? You have to take it out, completely remove it. And that was a major part of the income and the opportunity. So again, it would just crumble and die a natural death of attrition. So there wasn't really any way to fix this. I know they were working on some things to put a little more effort, put some sales requirements in. But even if they did succeed with that, that would be considered probably a bait and switch. I mean, people got into this under the belief that you could just buy a bunch of bids and not do a lot of work and make a lot of money. If you start telling them you got to do more and more work to make this money, they're going to revolt. And they would have said, wait a minute, that wasn't the deal we got into here. So, I mean, even if this thing would have stayed in business, they had some really rough times ahead of them. I don't think there was any way to even repair this and make it better. So, that's and by the way, that's why I think that all these great attorneys and advisors that they hired, I'm sure that those, I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure that they probably told Zeek, you need to do more, a lot more. That's their job. Doesn't mean Zeek Rewards has to take that advice. If they say, well, yeah, but if you make all these changes to make it legal, you'll rip the heart out of the income opportunity and the distributors will leave, well, we got to keep going it and see how far we can go with it. Well, they didn't get very far. So they got shut down. Now, again, I believe it was 2 out of 3. But that's why, in this case, don't think they were Ponzi. Do think they were a pyramid and probably were an unregistered security. But that's how those 3 things would kind of apply to a specific opportunity. So that's the example that I'm using here. Now, that's it for my, what I call it, quadrilogy. So we'll get back to some more current, commentary on what's going on out there in the upcoming videos. And so stay tuned. And again, always remember, if you go through your MLM career with blinders on, sooner or later, you're going to get blindsided.